Hello. Hi, I'm Mark Lee.
And I am Philippa Haynes.
Welcome
to our podcast.
In the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, we showcase and celebrate successful accountants who are doing great things, have years of experience, and whose stories can inspire and encourage other accountants around the UK.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. And we talk to accountants who have been at the top of their game for several years and have some key foundational learnings to share, including the highs, the lows, and the very valuable stories that provide some fundamental insights for the listener. At the end of the day, we want to see the person behind the accountant. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, so our guest today is Lorraine Ellison, a chartered management accountant who for over 15 years has been running Simply Additions Limited in the northeast of England between Durham and Sunderland.
Yes.
It's a digital accountancy firm, and Lorraine is one of the happiest practicing accountants I know. She loves new inventions, entrepreneurs, and nice people. So welcome to the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, Lorraine. Is there anything else you want to add by way of introduction?
No, I just hope people can understand my accent, but I feel honoured to be here. So thank you very much for the invitation.
I can understand you loud and clear, Lorraine. So that is fantastic. So before we get started, when Mark and I were planning the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, we said we really wanted to dig deep into the person behind the accountant. And we decided on 5 key questions that we think will get to some really interesting answers. And hopefully we'll take them in turn and not talk over each other. But the first question is yours, Mark.
Thanks, Philippa. Let's see if we can manage it this time. We'll be finished within 30 minutes. That's what we've promised, and it's what we've managed so far as well. So, Lorraine, do you want to tell us why did you go into accounting and end up starting your own practice?
Well, it was all an accident. I wanted to be a teacher, but then when I went to comprehensive school, I decided I didn't like children, so I thought I can't be a teacher. So then I was left in the wilderness thinking, what am I going to do? I was quite good at maths, but not very good at adding up, very poor at English, but managed to, get decent grades. And they wouldn't let me go on work experience because I was staying on to do A-levels. So I could not find out what I wanted to do. I thought, well, I'll work in an office. I'll do a bit of typing and shorthand, apart from I was bottom of the class for shorthand as well. So I just went to the job centre and just said, what have you got? When I'd left school with 1 A-level, so I couldn't go to uni. And they said, we've got an accounts assistant. Would you like to go for that? A trainee accountant. Oh, that sounds very posh. Are you sure I can do that? Because I'm just from poor stock sort of thing. Oh, yes, you can do that. So I went and got this job. I got it. It was working in a meat and pie production place. It was great. We used to test the sausages on a Friday afternoon, the recipes. Excellent job. And I had to calculate how many pies to make for the Sunderland football match and buy the ingredients in. It was great. And my boss there was a senior accountant, and he said, why don't you do this? But I had to do a BTEC in finance first. So I spent 2 years going to college, and then I could start my SEMA. And I thought, well, I'll never be able to do this. I'm not one of the brightest. I was quite good, but not in everything. And I just thought, I'll just go part qualified. I'll be able to do that. So I got to part qualified, and I thought, I'm going to have a go. And this is where resilience comes in, because my 4th level had to sit it 6 times. That's 24 exams. Kept failing something like law or tax, or usually it was one of them. Anyway, I got through after 6 sittings. And in those days, you had to sit 4 exams at the same time. Got that. And then promised I was going to do my homework every week. And so the last level, I've passed it straight away. And I was working while I was studying. So I was getting the experience. And each year I resat my exams. I was a little bit brighter, and I'd dabbled with spreadsheets. It was a long time ago. when spreadsheets were just a thing. So that's how I ended up becoming an accountant. But I worked in industry, worked in manufacturers and local newspaper. It was great, loved it. And a lift manufacturer, lift manufacturer. So I got loads of experience, and I got to financial controller, got to the board meetings, got involved in forecasting and all the rest of it. But I couldn't get the job what I wanted. I wanted to be finance director. And, you know, they always say it's the glass ceiling and all the rest of it, but really I just didn't have that edge. Didn't know how to handle myself. I just said yes to everything. And then the job became very routine and boring. You know, every year it's a budget round, and it's all politics and everything. And I decided I was going to go and leave and work in tax. So I'd followed the auditors around and checked their workings and kept asking questions. Well, how did you do this tax thing? But when I went to see the recruitment agents, they said, well, Lorraine, you're on a really good salary and you know nothing about tax. You've got no tax exams or anything. Why would anybody want to employ you? They won't take you on at the beginning because of your salary. So I thought, oh, I know, I'll leave, I'll set my own business up. And then if it doesn't work in 6 months, I'll be able to go after these jobs and my salary won't get in the way. So that's how I ended up setting up Simply Editions.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And I mean, that is quite a story, as you said, of resilience and all of those things. But, you know, obviously you've had this practice now for a number of years. So what have you kind of learned along the way then? Because that's quite a journey.
Yeah, I've learned everything that you shouldn't do. And I share this information with my colleagues, people who are just transferring from industry into practice, because I'd never worked in a practice, and I don't know which foolish thing inspired me to set up a practice when I'd never worked in one and didn't have the foggiest about anything. Biggest mistakes are pricing, just saying yes to everything, not doing the invoices that promptly. Still have a little bit of that going on, but you know, not as much. Learning, I used to scour. I don't know why I didn't do a tax exam at the time. Scour the HMRC website, which is full of very useful information, and obviously took 5 times as long as a normal person would to do each job. But I learnt a lot, and I've honed my skills over the years. So now I know what I'm doing, I know how to price, and I share my lessons with those who see my members coming from industry into practice. But yes.
Yeah, because I know that you are very involved with CIMA, aren't you? The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. How did you foster those relationships that you developed there, and that enable you to help other accountants who want to move into practice?
Mark, it's that same old thing. I said yes to everything. So yes, I'll be on the branch committee. Yes, I'll be vice president of the local area groups. So I ended up being president of the local branch, and then I got involved in the membership committee and spent 5 years going down to London and getting involved in that. And then I decided to do an MBA and decided to be very selfish and say, right, I'm not doing any more volunteering until I've done my qualifications. The 5-year course turned into 9 years, because you've seen my history on how long it takes me to complete something. But I eventually got my MBA. So even though I didn't go to university, I have a degree in business.
Well, it's more than I've got, Lorraine. I took 2 attempts at all my professional exams, and I didn't go to uni either.
It doesn't mean, it doesn't stop you. It's just to say that you can learn. Well, I've proved I'm a very slow learner.
Yeah, but you need to have the curiosity as well, and as you say, the resilience and that sort of can-do attitude. And if you've got that, then it kind of feels like you can do anything, really.
Absolutely, you can. And I've got tons of curiosity. Even now, I'm 58-year-old and I'm still trying out new tech. And I love it. I love trying new things and seeing how we can improve efficiencies. And as I get older, my memory gets a bit worse. So I have to use technology and reminders and write procedures so that when I jump onto the task, I know I can pick my start up quite quickly. So, yes.
Can you tell us something about your practice in terms of staffing, client numbers, client types, and that sort of thing?
Yes. I checked out my numbers this morning because they're constantly changing. I can't keep up with them. So we've got 87 limited companies, which include about 7 dormant companies. And then we've got 3 partnerships. I'm not keen on partnerships. They always spell trouble. Usually there's an argument between 2 of the partners. And then we've got 100 individuals, which is a lovely round number, but it's a fact because I've got a number counter. And of those 100 individuals, 28 of them are sole traders and the rest are directors of the said 100. So when somebody says, how many clients have you got? It's very difficult because I don't know whether I'm double counting. But if I count them all up as individual contracts, it's 190. And that says to me, I lost 10, not lost them. I pushed 10 out very recently. Yeah. So that's the client side, and it's all people we love working with. And then on the staffing side, again, I'm not very good at counting the numbers, but we've got 4 of us full time. Well, when I say full time, we're like 30 hours each, and about 4 who are part time. Maybe he's working 2 hours a week or 4 hours a month or something like that, because we are truly flexible. And I see people saying about having a flexible working practice. This is what we've done from day one. We would start people in the office with the community, but then when pandemic came, we all went home, and nobody has to ask for permission. They don't say, can I book a day's holiday? They just manage the workload and then ask for help if something clashes. So fully flexible, and we're fully digital. And lockdown came because we would still accept paperwork in. Lockdown came, and it was like, no, not having another scrap of paper coming into this house. The garage is full of the first office move. So that was hard to enforce because some people like paper. But I've just been with a client this weekend, and she said, oh, no, I'm scared of tech. She's one of the 8 I've got on manual. But I've got her to use WhatsApp to photograph the summary pages. I don't need all the rest, so I can cope with that. No paper at all.
Yeah. Well, just adding in a question there before we talk about, mistakes and all those kind of things, because we've all made a few, I'm sure. Just having gone virtual and having been virtual for quite a long time now, what have you learned about, maintaining that and ensuring it works? Because I think there's still so much dialogue around that, and people are sort of not sure about, whether it's full-time or part-time. How's it work for you to be virtual with your staff?
We've been doing it so long, it just feels, I just look at other people and I think, well, why aren't you doing it? I just can't grasp. And then I go to, a Chempex and places like that, and I realise that actually we're not part of the mainstream. We are part of the few. One of the things was getting one of the team to accept 2 screens would work better than 1. So if you've got 1 screen, you've got to print things out and mark them with a highlighter when you're doing a bank rec and you've got a problem. If you've got 2, you can highlight them on screen and work side by side. And she's like, oh, no, I don't need second screen. When we got her the second screen during lockdown, she went, oh, I wish I'd done it years ago.
Or 3rd screen. I know some accountants with 3 screens.
I've worked with 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one for your sort of calendar and emails, one for the client data, and one for the input and the software that you're using. That becomes even more efficient.
I sometimes do the 3rd one on my phone. I could do a 4 really, but all we've done is systemized, allocated work, systemized things, using the technology. And it's lovely when you see somebody who's quite resistant to it to actually embracing it. And I found the technique to use it is to sit with them and hold their hand. If you just say, there's your screen, there's the technology, log in here, here's some written instructions, it very rarely works for somebody who's afraid of tech. If you sit next to them and just say, look, just press that button there, just open your phone up, let me help you download the app or whatever, I've found that works. It takes away the fear, because that's what you're trying to get over. And then the other key is to get them practicing with it, because if you just do it once a year, you're starting again every time. Yeah. So it's the regular, that's why we try and get people to do things monthly or at the end of the week, things like that. But working digitally, it's a challenge on the transition. But once you're there, you just think, oh God, how did we ever cope? And from the lessons that we learned, it's like, you never have to worry about working on the wrong backup.
Do you have regular team meetings online or what? How do you...
Not so much online, but I do with the clients, but sometimes I'll go and visit them, and we book a room at where we used to have our office. We'll just book a room for the day, and either we haven't got a plan and we just go and work together, or we'll have a structure and say, right, we're going to do terms of engagement, talk about the planning of the deadlines, things like that. Basically, it's just an opportunity to get together. Failing that, we'll go out and have a lunch with a bottle of wine.
That's nice. So when you are face to face, it's a bit more jolly, isn't it? It's a bit, it's about enjoying meeting everybody, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. It is.
Love it. Lorraine, what about some of the mistakes that you've made, and what did you learn from them, and change and correct them? Had a few.
I could probably write a book on them. There's so many, so many. The biggest mistake was the pricing, not understanding how to price. When I started, I looked at what everybody else was charging for bookkeeping. At the time, very long time ago, but still, it was £15 an hour. So I thought, I'll charge that. Forgetting the fact that I'm SEMA qualified and, got all these other skills that I didn't know how to sell. So I decided I would do the bookkeeping, charge £15 an hour. Well, you soon get swamped with a load of work. And then at the same time, I'm busy learning, trying to figure out how to do a tax return, charging a low fee for a tax return, and not doing any management accounts, which was actually one of my strengths. I thought I'd become a tax accountant overnight with no experience, all the rest of it. So, lots of lessons there. So learn how to do it, the pricing. And one of the things I do with my colleagues is I share my full price list. It's a standing joke about how many items I've got on my price list. It's that long. Everything I've been caught out with over the years, letters to the banks, references, that sort of thing. They're all in there. So if somebody asks for something, I've got a price that works. And I share that around with people because I think that's the hardest bit when you're starting and you've got nothing to compare it to. The other mistakes were working on the wrong backup. So my saviour was when QuickBooks Online came along, which actually I ditched the first time I used it. I didn't like it. It didn't have enough bells and whistles compared to the desktop version. So I tried it. I thought, oh no, I don't like that. And then I thought about all the mistakes we were doing. And I thought, do you know what? That might actually solve the problems. So a year later, I had another go. A few more bells and whistles appeared by then. And that became my saviour. Other things were saying yes to people and being pressurised into taking on clients that I should have listened to my gut and just said, not for us. Taking people on, because then you've got the headache of having to get rid of them. You get stuck with people you don't like, or you can't work with, or you're not getting paid, or you don't collect the money in. The other thing is about payments. So we would invoice at the end of the job. We would get paid if I did the invoice and if I chased. We use practice ignition, so we have terms, we have signed up, people pay monthly. We do have the odd job where we'll charge at the end, but it depends who it is. Quite often I'll take a deposit up front. They were the biggest and most painful things. And if you grow your practice because you're priced low, you end up with a lot of clients, which everybody thinks, oh, that's great. You're dead successful. Look at all the clients you've got. However, and Della mentioned this on a podcast with you previously, you end up running faster to keep up You keep getting more clients in. Before you know it, you'll end up burnt out. I didn't reach that point because I did get wise, but it's like turning around a big tanker. And it takes absolutely years. So my advice is get some help beforehand. There's loads of collaboration in the accounting industry, which I absolutely love. And people will share. I'm in a few Facebook groups and people will share how to price, what to look out for. So there isn't that starting from scratch with no information. There's a collaborative community for everybody to join in, whether you're a bookkeeper, an accountant, whatever it is. There's loads of help out there, and I don't have to be the one to help everybody.
That's brilliant. I mean, one of the things you're talking about is obviously finding your ideal client and having those valuable ones rather than the volume, which is something that I totally agree with and also promote in what I do. But this is a question for you then. From all of that you've said and all of that you've experienced, what do you think makes you unique in the way that you kind of tackle being an accountant and work with your clients? Is there anything, do you think? Because that's something else that I'm really interested in about the unique side of things.
You've got to be confident enough to say no, and in a very nice way that you're not going to offend the other person. So I teach people how to say no, because that is a good skill to learn, because I've spent many years saying yes to everything.
And how does that work then? How do you get somebody to say no? What do you teach them there?
Well, first of all, listen to what's being asked and then stall. So you just say, let me think about it, I'll come back to you. Because if you're trying to answer on the spot, you haven't got time to think of all the reasons and how to put it across in a nice way. So you always have to say, let me think about it. I'll go and check some things. I'll come back to you. And when you are saying no, you've got to be genuine in your no. So you can't make up a lie because you'll get caught out. You've got to be genuine. And sometimes it's as simple as just saying, I've said this, I'm sorry, but I'm just completely exhausted. I've got too much work on. I know I won't be able to give you a good service. I'm not in a position to help you at the moment. But here's a few names of somebody who might be able to. So you give them a solution. So you've helped. It's just you're not providing the help. So it's little things like that.
Love it. And if I can pick up on one of the earlier points you made, Lorraine, about following your gut, only going with and not taking on the people and working with the people who you don't feel are right. How did you attract the bulk of your client base, being the right sort of people? Because as you alluded to, so many accountants, when they start up, take on the cheapest, quickest, fastest that they can and then regret it later. But they can't afford, many of them think they can't afford to turn down the easy, quick, cheap stuff. How did you overcome that?
First of all, get your services identified, what it is you want to offer with your price list and some packages, and you can hand it out to people and just say, there's my price list, go and think about it, because it depends on your budget. And then you're not, because people will just say, how much will it cost? Well, it's like buying a computer. It depends what you want. So giving them some package deals can help. And also identifying what kind of work you want to take on. So I have a no list as well. So on this no list are no taxi drivers, no CIS, no pubs, no corner shops with high volumes of cash, that sort of thing. And then I have a list of the things I like, but it's not exclusive, but also I now ask people to give me some information before I meet up with them on Zoom or personally, because I'm trying to filter them out. And when you meet somebody, you might get pulled in you might like them and then take them on because you like them, but actually they won't pay the right price, they're not the right behaviour. So having a very clear idea, and that's not to say you can only say yes if they fit all of your ideals. You might say, well, I've got not much on at the moment. How about we give it a 60-day trial? it's dangerous. But if you need the money, you might just say, I can do it, but I need payment up front, and these are the things we're going to do, or let's talk about it. But it is really difficult at the beginning. So that's why I think it's good to have mentor support or collaborators who can help you, because it's that being bold enough to say yes or no and how you say it, because you might need the money.
Yeah. I think that's a great answer. And whilst I don't deal with startups, even very established accountants can find it helpful to have somebody ratify their decisions to say no, and to decide whether or not they should be taking an apparent opportunity or not. We should move on to our final question, Lorraine, which is, what would you summarize and say are the secrets of your success? There may not be that much of a secret.
I feel I'm just an ordinary person. However, I do have a high level of empathy, which sometimes works against you, because that's why you'll say yes to everything. So I've had to build in things to stop me. I can put myself in the shoes of the other person. So before I even meet them, I think about, well, where are they sitting in life? What are their challenges? What's going to make it easy for them? And then, because I'll use normal everyday language rather than, posh jargon or whatever, that works. And I like people, business people, not the general public. I don't like them. I like business people. I love to hear their stories. So, Mark, I absolutely adore startups. I like pre-startups. I like to talk about what's the dream, what's their ambition, how we're going to get there. So the business goals match up with the personal goals, and we don't make the wrong decision. It's just, I love it. And I love it when a plan comes together. So I've seen people retire with a brilliant pension, and we're setting off with another one for a dream. And it's a farmhouse with a unit at the side. And we've cut out the middle step, which is what we were going to go for. So we've changed tack once I unearthed, what the dream was. But yeah, I think the fact that I like people helps a lot.
That's brilliant. I just think the last few minutes that, with the no list and all of those things are really, really great insights that in many ways they seem quite simple, but actually if you use them, they are really, really effective, aren't they?
Yeah,
so,
I think you do have to care, because if you don't care and you're just playing at it, you won't be authentic with the client. And no matter how much you try to put on a pretendy smile, it's not possible. And they will pick something up. They won't know what's wrong, but they'll pick it up.
Yeah. So if somebody who's listening to this podcast loves what they hear, how can they get in touch with you and have a chat?
The first step would be to find me on LinkedIn and send me a message. If the press just connect, it won't work. There've got to be a message. So if you don't know how to do a message on a request to connect, you've got to find out, because otherwise I'll just ignore you.
Brilliant.
I have introduced doing power hours. It's usually 90 minutes because, I can't count. And I do that through a little sideline I've got going, but just because I love helping, but it depends on my availability.
Okay, great.
Love it. And thank you so much for that, Lorraine. It was wonderful. And I think another secret to your success is actually your SEMA background as well, and having worked in industry. I'm sure that's had a big impact on how you come to be where you are and the style and approach that you operate. And I say that as a proud member of the ICAEW, of course.
Thank you, Mark. That's wonderful coming from you. Yes, I don't really focus on it, because once you're trained as a senior accountant, you can't help but do management accounts. So even though I didn't do management accounts for 10 years, when I finished doing a set of accounts and a tax return, even though the client wasn't paying for it and wasn't getting it, I would look at what's happening next year. What do I need to do? And I had to look up, what does advisory mean? It turns out I was doing it all along. I just didn't know it was called that. So we've started introducing the fee for the extras.
Brilliant. Do you know what? We could talk for hours, I'm sure, but sadly we've got to come to an end, but it's been wonderful to talk to you. So people know how they can get in touch with you. Mark, how can listeners find out about you and your Soul Practice Club?
Oh, thanks, Philippa. Well, online everywhere. I'm Bookmark Lee, so my business cards are a bookmark as well. On LinkedIn, Mark Lee FCA. My website, Bookmark Lee, and very happy to talk to accountants in practice. And the Soul Practice Club still has some spaces at the moment for the probably more mature, at least partly successful accountants who are feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and maybe even a bit isolated. So that's me. Philippa, how can listeners find out more about you and Insight 101?
So if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper and you want to stand out and be unique, like our friend here today, Lorraine, get in touch with me via insight101.co.uk, or obviously you can find me on the lovely LinkedIn. So that's it. If you've enjoyed the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, please share the love online. Let us have your feedback, and we hope to see you again next time.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Lorraine and Philippa. Bye, everybody. Until next time on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast.
Bye. Bye.